need to know the answer to. Are you open to extending the legislative closure deadline of Boat Harbor?
Today, the minister provided the company with a path to meet the requirements of an EA, and we'll wait for them to do the work.
Premier, the company says they thought previously it would take until the summer of 2020 to do the work. They now say this will set them back further by another year. At what point do we all acknowledge here that this can't be done?
Well, the reality of it is the company needs to do the work. They need to be more focused on today and finding out whether or not they can put a treatment center that actually meets the environmental regulations of the province. And that's what they should be focused on.
And just to put a fine point on this, you are not open to altering the date of the Boat Harbor Act.
The Boat Harbor Act is the Boat Harbor Act. What I've said all along to this company, focus on the reality of whether or not you can actually site a treatment facility. At this point, there is no facility. They need to focus on actually making sure that they can get one that meets the environmental requirements. At this point, they don't have one.
Sorry, I'm just wondering, can we get a yes or no to your willingness to revisit the date of the Boat Harbor Act?
Well, at this point, there's no reason for me to even consider that.
The company has said you need to for it to remain in Pictou County.
Well, the company needs to focus on whether or not it can actually meet the environmental standards of the province. At this point, they haven't.
People in Pictou County would say that you're basically dragging out potentially the inevitable by not just, you could put this to bed right now by saying, as you have for months and months, the date is the date, and it would give a lot of insight, I think, to people who are in that community right now wondering what today means.
I've been pretty consistent. What I've said all along is this: we gave 5 years. This company, though, needs to do the work of doing a treatment facility, whether they can set it or not, site it in Pictou County. They need to focus on that. I don't know how much clearer I can be to them.
So
the minister has given them a path today. They'll decide and choose to do it or not. That'll be a decision the company makes.
They said that they can't do it by the deadline.
Well, currently they don't have a facility that's actually been cited. They need to actually work at ensuring that they can meet the environmental responsibilities of the province. So that's what I would encourage them to focus on.
They also said today that they think the yardstick the province is using has moved and been moving all along. What do you say to that?
I'm not sure what they're referring to. I think we were pretty consistent.
So I think you've said that you're not going to change that deadline without Andrea Paul agreeing. Is that still your position here?
We have continued to say all along that we've given the company 5 years. What we've also said is that they need to focus on whether or not that they can site a treatment facility.
So it's January 2020, that's it?
That's the date of the legislation.
And then you're going to hold them to that?
That's the date in the legislation. What we need to, what I want to hold them to is actually decide whether or not they can have a treatment facility. That's totally up to them. They'll make that decision. They'll determine whether or not they want to make that investment. That is now in their hands. The minister very clearly laid out they have a responsibility to meet requirements that weren't there. So they should focus on that.
Premier, up to and including today, have you had any conversations with Chief Paul to suggest she would be supportive of moving the closure date that's legislated right now?
No, I haven't spoken to Chief Paul in a number of months now. I can't remember the last time it was, to be honest with you, but I haven't spoken to her about changing the date, no.
Has anybody from government?
Not that I know of. If they haven't done it with me, with my knowledge, no. Not that I know of.
In light of today's decision, what are you doing to help the forestry industry develop?
As I said yesterday, we're still ongoing with what's happening internally within government and our partners to look at. As you know, I said this mill is integrated in the forest sector, unlike any other mill in the province. All of the sawmills send a lot of their chips and residuals to this mill. We're looking at what are the other options to be able to use those chips for. We've had different suggestions coming forward, continuing to work with the industry. And then we're also looking at ensuring if something happens to this mill, which we believe there's still a path with it if they choose to take it. But there is pension plans and all of those things.
I'm not trying to be difficult about this, but given the
I don't think you are.
But given the significance of what this means to people in Pictou County, you've been so clear over the last few months that the date is the date. You won't change it without support from the community, and you're just not repeating those same things today. So just for the absolute sake of clarity, do you have any intention at this point to change the date in the Boat Harbor Act?
I have no reason to. The date is in the bill. There is no treatment facility. The company should spend its time focusing on whether or not it can actually site a treatment facility in the province. They haven't done that, and I want to be clear about this. This is more than just Pictou County. Every sawmill across the province will be impacted. Every private woodlot owner, this entire sector will be impacted. I've said this many times. This mill is of the 3 mills we used to have, and the 2 that we currently have, this mill is the one that is most integrated in the forestry sector of the province. And I encourage them, if they choose to make that investment, to figure out whether or not they can site a facility.
Thanks, Peter.